Hi everyone, my name is Isaac and I'm going to be showing you some tricks on the Newton's Cradle. But if you're watching this video, I believe you have a Newton's Cradle at home. But what exactly is a Newton's Cradle? Well, a Newton's Cradle illustrates Isaac Newton's third law of motion, and it was invented by an English actor called Simon Preble, who thought a Newton's Cradle was a good name to fit this, what you call a so-called toy. And it shows Isaac Newton's third law of motion. And if you don't know yet, Isaac Newton's first law was the laws of interior, and it shows that a stationary object remains in position until a force is applied to it. And so Newton's second law is the law of acceleration. So the heavier an object is, the more force it needs to make it move. And Newton's third law, which I may have explained to you, well, I don't think I have, but for every action, which I take one marble right here, it hits one marble and it keeps on going. But whereas if I take two marbles, there's an equal reaction at both ends. So obviously, two marbles goes. And because I'm going to be showing you this later, I'm going to take two marbles and the energy transfers both marbles, switching and switching. So those are Isaac Newton's 3 laws of motion. So how about let's just get into it. So the most common trick here is actually taking one marble, which I showed you earlier, and letting it hit. The energy can go on for about a minute, but I didn't really put enough energy into it to actually go for a minute. So it may go for about 30 seconds now. After that, the middle 3 marbles will start moving and it'll get smaller. Soon it'll just stop like that. So that's the first most common trick on a Newton's Cradle. Now the second most common trick, which I think everyone knows still, is what I showed you earlier, taking 2 marbles, and for every action there's an equal reaction. Every action, equal reaction, get it? Reaction, action. And soon it'll just dissolve away because I didn't put enough energy into it. So that's the second most common, which everyone still knows. Oh, you still may be wondering why, if you take 3, it goes to 3. That wasn't my best shot back there. But still, it's still an equal motion. So if I do it again, if I take 3, 3 goes on the left. Now this one has a bit more energy in it than the third one, which you take 4, and then it just moves like that. 4 goes on each left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and the marbles just keep on alternating until, although it wasn't my best shot, it just goes on with a 5. But this is not a trick on the Newton's Cradle, but people kind of say it is. You take 5 marbles, and look, 5 goes on each side, but it's just the strings being attached to each other. Now let's look at something a bit more complex. Let's take this marble from each side, and let's just call this energy A and energy B. So energy A and energy B is actually crisscrossing with each other, because if one marble hits, the other marble goes up, and it's all simultaneous. So it just crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. Obviously it's a tongue twister if you say it too many times, but yeah, it just crisscrosses until it just ends up when one has more energy than another. Unless you can really do it simultaneously, it'll just go on. Now it's just the same concept, A and B, with 2 marbles this time. This isn't my best shot, but I just want to keep this calm. and it just hits because there's an equal reaction on each side, remember? Okay, now let's look at something else. If I take 3 and 2, the middle marble just goes left and right because it's 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. And I think you get what I mean, but because the 2 always hits that on the other side and the 3 hits on the other side. So therefore it just alternates. Anyway, for our final ones, I'm going to do something a bit more trickier, which is not that tricky. It's 4, 1, 4, 1, which is the same concept as the 3, 2, 3, 2. It's just a bit bigger and a bit smaller with the 4 and 1. It's just the same literally as taking the 4, but the 1's just moving. Now let's look at a bit more complex thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the middle one out, and therefore it's out. And what I'm going to do is obviously going to calm this down. And I'm going to take 2, and do you see how it bounces? It doesn't go for that long because the middle 2 have nothing in the middle. So as you can see, the edge ones are actually hitting the middle ones, and therefore it's bouncing in. It's not bouncing in anymore, but you can see it. Now for kind of like the last one. Well, although it's a bit like one I just did, it is actually, I release one a split second later than the other. You can hear that kind of sound, and therefore it's called the galloping sound. It's nicknamed that because, as you can see, 1 hits this and it comes down, and it makes that kind of galloping sound, but I released it a bit too late so you don't hear it anymore. But it makes that because of the 2 marbles having contact with each other. And then it just goes off into 2s. Now, this isn't a trick, but it's something random I just want to show you. I take 3, and then it's actually not really a thing because it doesn't last. Yeah, and sometimes it just goes all scrambled up. And it's just like all the energy hitting together randomly, and then after that it just goes off into its separate things. Comes back, hits each other randomly, and then goes off. And that's just a bonus trick. Or something you can try out at home is taking 4, release 1, release 1, release 1, and release 1. And it makes that galloping kind of sound if you do it a bit correctly and do it at a precise time. Or it will just go like that at the end.